Welcome to the Sunday morning meditation service. We'll be doing a chant, and it's a call and response. And I call, and then you respond. Okay. Speak with the mouth of God. Love with the heart of God. Walk with the feet of God. Sing with the voice of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Dance with the soul of God. Walk with the grace of God. Breathe with the air of God. Think with the mind of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Hear the words of God. Never ever fear God. Walk with the feet of God. Live in the heart of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. with the mouth of God. Love with the heart of God. Walk with the feet of God. Live in the heart of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and now. Heaven, heaven, heaven. Dance with the soul of God. Walk with the grace of God. Breathe with the air of God. Think with the mind of God. Live in heaven, here and now. Live in heaven, here and
Good morning, everyone. The talk title today is taken from a very popular book that was written many years ago by A Course in Miracles aspirant, titled "Love is Letting Go of Fear." This idea can only become an understanding that we live by when we are willing to take to task our own awareness. We have to take to task our own mind and be willing to recognize the motives that create our personal perception. Before we delve into this, though, we should take a clear look at the definition of perception given in A Course in Miracles. You can read this in the Course in Miracles text 4:15. It's actually 4:15. I don't know how that got transposed that way. In the new edition, it's on 4:45. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. Can we take this back again, please? This particular paragraph epitomizes the truth that runs through A Course in Miracles. It is that truth that is the bridge between the world we were born and raised in and the real world that A Course in Miracles refers to. At some point, we are called on to cross that bridge, and in crossing it, we come to this reality. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. That's in the Bible. It's in Psalms. No, it's in Proverbs. Proverbs 4, I think. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. The first time I heard this idea being expressed, it was expressed in a lecture given by Swami Rama well over 40 years ago, when I was a member of the Association of Research and Enlightenment in New York City. We had a tiny little, what used to be an apartment upstairs in this building on 38th Street. Swami Rama actually had just arrived in New York City from India somewhere, but he was in New York City. He had the beautiful Indian dress and a suitcase, and he showed up at the ARE. I have no idea how he came to find the ARE. It wasn't easy to find. It didn't have a big sign outside or anything. And he came up and he talked to Shane Miller, who was kind of the guy running the ARE then at that time, and asked if he could give a lecture on the power and the transformation of the mind. And Shane said, well, okay, but there's only a few people here during the weekdays, but if you come on a Saturday, we may have like about 30 people, and we'll call around and advertise it. So he did. He showed up on a Saturday and gave this talk about the mind. It was an hour long, and Swami Rama had been, from his boyhood, had been trained in the Eastern religious traditions of the Upanishads, the Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita. And he was deeply into all of that as a young man when he decided to take a trek through the vast jungle to a spiritual shrine. It was a Hindu shrine that was miles away, and he had to go through the jungle to get to it. On his journey through the jungle, he realized a lion was stalking him, and so he stopped, and he said within his own mind, if I fear this lion, the lion will fear me, and I'm dead. And so at that point, he just started chanting Om, only God, only love. Om, only God, only love. Om, only God, only love. And he had his eyes closed, and he's doing this. And when he opened his eyes, the lion was only about 10 feet away, crouched, looking like it's going to spring. And he just closed his eyes and kept chanting. And then when he opened his eyes again, he saw the lion walking away into the jungle. So the interesting part of what he was saying, you have to understand that this particular yogi, Swami Rama, he's one of those guys that could bury himself without air for days and stuff like that. He went to the Menninger Foundation in Kansas after he had stopped in New York City, and they tested him, and he was able to slow down his heart to a really slow rate of speed. It was almost imperceptible. You could almost think that he was dead. That's how slow he got his heart to beat. So he was a practiced yogi. And when he finished his lecture, we had a gal, a middle-aged gal, who had attended the ARE in New York for a while, and she was a self-proclaimed victim. She would sit in on the groups, the dream interpretation groups and discussion groups, and always have to share how life was so inconsiderate of her, and how mean people can be, and how people have turned on her, including her family and her daughter especially, who wouldn't allow her to see the grandchild, and her husband of the daughter hated her, and she couldn't keep a job because she always kept running into people who were just terribly selfish and mean. And so we heard this story from her a lot. And then when this lecture of Swami Rama was over, she came up and gushed on him all of this. And he was kind of patient. He had a cup of tea in his hand already. And when she was finished, he said, "So you don't like your life?" She said, "No, people are just mean." He said, "Change your mind. Change your mind." And he turned away from her and got involved with some other people who were standing by. Well, of course, this particular idea is not anything new to people today in unity. This is the actual focus of what we do here at Unity in Boulder. we're in the process of making this transformation to this higher level of awareness. And in order to do this, we have to take on a spiritual practice, because the mind is set in a certain mode that it's gotten used to. And so it carries on in the thinking of the world, and will carry on in the thinking of the world, even after we start our spiritual practice. But then, after a while, we can actually quiet the mind. And the process of meditation is necessary for this. The ability to do the holy pause, so that you're now checking in on your mind. You see, we are greater than the mind, but we grow up thinking we are this mind, this personal mind, and its outlook is me. And that's not true. The mind is a great instrument for doing things, and the logic of the mind gets us through plenty of things that we need to know about, and it helps us solve some problems in our foreground, etc. But the mind is not our higher self. We are cosmic conscious awareness beings. And it is this consciousness we are trying to access. Because if we access this consciousness, we enter into what A Course in Miracles refers to as the at-one-ment consciousness. This at-one-ment consciousness then has eliminated the ongoing illusion of separation, which is the underlying illusion in the world we grew up in the thinking of the world. And of course, in that illusion of separation, there is me, my observations, and that which I am observing, which is the world. And that's all separate. And it seems to us that we are objective observers, but not subjectively involved in bringing about conditions and circumstances that keep arriving in our awareness. We don't operate from that perspective because we are trained and educated otherwise to think that we are objective observers, and we use a certain logic based on the idea of separation. But in the end, it does not play out to bring healing, harmony, peace, or love, true love, into our experience. So that's the whole thing that we are involved in when we truly get involved in spiritual awakening. I don't want to say religion, because so much of religion is still operating from the illusionary thinking of the world, in which God is still very separate and very distant. And our prayers and our meditations in the thinking of that type of religion are all about somehow getting the attention of God, who is separate and far off, to intercede in our conditions and circumstances and bring about some shift or change that we would want personally. And that is a total erroneous concept. And that is why so few prayers are answered. And that is why in Unity we suggest that you don't pray to God as being a distant entity that you have to get involved in and get down into your situation in life. We say pray from God, recognizing God is the intelligence of all life, operating in all life. God is not just the creator, God is the creation ongoing. And that intelligence is present in every condition, circumstance, and moment of living. And if we say, well, you don't feel the presence of God, the thing is that your mind has not practiced the presence of God. You have to practice the presence of mind so that you are mindful and aware. And then you can finally someday say, as Jesus says, I and the Father are one. I only do what is pleasing to God. So we can so align our awareness with God consciousness that we enter what A Course in Miracles refers to as the at-one-ment consciousness, where we are looking upon everything as sacred, as part of God, and worthy, not just some dogma saying you have to forgive if you want to get to heaven, or you have to bestow peace if you want to be okay with God, and you have to do this, you have to do that. That's not it. If you actually get into a state of forgiveness, you will free yourself from the thinking of the world, because you'll begin to free yourself from the illusion of separation and the personal idea of being a victim of sorts. So it's the same thing, the idea that God is everywhere present, always present, but we are not, until we take on the task of aligning our awareness with the truths of the divine laws which transcend the laws of the world. They transcend the laws of the world. But now look at how A Course in Miracles follows up this last quote. I'm going to show you the second part of that paragraph. It's speaking directly to us, and that is why it is considered today by many of the masters to possibly be the most enlightened material that's come to earth since the Bible. So let's take a look at this next paragraph. So we left off this paragraph where it said, perception is a result and not a cause. Then it goes on to say, and that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos. Damnation is your judgment on yourself. And this you will project upon the world. See it as damned, and all you see is what you did to hurt the Son of God. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you tried to crucify him. If you see holiness and hope, you joined the will of God to set him free. There is no choice that lies between these two decisions. And you will see the witness to the choice you made and learn from this to recognize which one you chose. Can we take this back again, please? So perception is a result and not a cause. That's the complete opposite, of course, of the entire education system in the world. It's completely in opposition to the science, not talking about the new sciences of quantum physics, etc. So I'm talking about the old empirical science that we were trained and brought up in. Perception is a result and not a cause, and that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. That means everything looked upon, if you have accepted the at-one-ment in consciousness is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos. Damnation is your judgment on yourself, and this you will project upon the world. This is the gal that stopped and gushed on Swami Rama. You see, her world is actually self-created victimhood. And this is what it is saying, that if you continue to live in the illusion of separation, you're going to live in a state of conflict, vengeance, fear, overwhelming concern, and ultimately, probably depression. So damnation is a judgment on yourself, and it has to do with how your mind is set up. And this you will project upon the world. See it as damned, and all you see is what you did to hurt the Son of God. And the Son of God in all of this is the creation. That's it. Every human being is the Son of God. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you tried to crucify him. That is, you're holding a limited outlook on life. Your definition of life is a crucifixion of divine forgiveness, consideration, peace, joy. So instead of having that, wanting that, and seeing that, you are having this whole attitude about how life is not going according to the way your expectations would have it go. And so we have to transcend that thinking. That's all there is to it. And by the way, there's no other religion. There isn't any. It's all pomp, circumstances, and part of the madness and the thinking of the world, trying to get people to be afraid. That's all it's about, to be afraid of God, because if you don't do what the dogma says you should do, you're going to hell. And that's the biggest surprise a lot of people in traditional religion have. When they finally do drop the body, and they had their whole life spent in that church that made them terrified of God, and they think they're going to hell, and then when they drop the body and they wake up in New York City, which is worse. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you try to crucify him. That is, you've crucified the Son of God in your own heart. If you see holiness and hope, you join the will of God to set him free. There is no choice that lies between these two decisions. And you will see the witness to the choice you made and learn from this to recognize which one you chose. So, we're aware of the spiritual experiences that Helen Schuckman, well, those of you that have been here for the last couple of weeks, that Helen Schuckman experienced. And that experience came out of a deep desire, along with Bill Thedford, her assistant at the Psychological Foundation at Columbia University. The deep desire to somehow transcend the conflict and consternation and bickering that went on amidst the staff of trained psychologists and doctors who were studying to be surgeons, etc. The whole thing was just terrible. It just didn't fit. And they said, we've got to find a better way. And that's not necessarily a prayer. It is an intention, a powerful intention that they set upon. And from that point of intention, Helen Schuckman began to have experiences, otherworldly experiences. You have to understand that her mind was set solid in the science of psychology and the thinking of the world. And now all of a sudden, that's coming into question. The first thing that happened to her after they made this decision to find a better way, she was traveling on the subway with her husband, and she detested riding on the subway at any time. And at this particular time, she saw a young child with a chocolate bar hanging on his mother, and the chocolate was getting on her face. And there was like another kid down the way. And by the way, they didn't have seats right away on the subway, so they had to wait till they finally got seats. And she saw another child pick up a piece of gum off the floor and put it in his mouth. And the disgusting nature of a New York subway is something you would have to experience. I don't know how it is today. I haven't been back for a while. But there were subways you wouldn't want to be caught dead on. The element of. But she was disgusted with all this. She was reviled. And she simply closed her eyes because she couldn't handle it. And then this light came up behind her eyes and filled up with an image. You have to remember, this is the lady that used to have photographs show up as an image, set ideas in photo, not moving photographs, just photos, when she was a young kid. Now she had this moving video-like images taking place in her mind of the presence of someone she was with and feeling this immense, intense love. The most intense love she had ever felt in her life while she's sitting in this subway that she despises. And she opens her eyes and just feels this intense love for everyone in that subway. And this was one of the first mystical experiences she actually had. She reaches for her husband's hand and she says, I don't know how to explain this. You have to understand, this is not something that ever happened to her. I don't know how to explain this, she says to her husband. But I'm feeling like I'm in the presence of God, for crying out loud, here on the subway. He said, you're having a mystical experience. It's not that far-fetched. Many people have mystical experiences. And so she thought to herself, the mystical experience. So she tried to take it in stride as she quieted herself, and everything came back to normal, and she was sitting in a dirty subway. And that did not convince her of the spiritual ideals of oneness or truth that would come through A Course in Miracles. She was, even after that, an avowed atheist, and she resisted the Course and the material from the Course for years and years and years. Well, it still came through her, and for strange reasons she took it down. So, we don't all need mystical experiences, but many people on the spiritual journey have a mystical experience where they see as God sees, where they recognize that love that we talk about, which is transcendent love. It's healing love. It heals, it almost always heals the mind of the one who's experiencing such a state. But you don't have to have that mystical experience to begin to transcend the thinking of the world that denies you feeling love for your fellow people. You don't have to have that. You just have to be on faith willing to step beyond the thinking that you were born, raised in, and start to practice the presence of God. And you can read this in A Course in Miracles as well. Take a look at how this plays out in reality. You can read this in the Old Text on page 132, or in the New Edition on page 143. When you meet anyone Remember, it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself. Whenever two sons of God meet, they are given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. Can we take this back again? And of course, the male pronoun here, as used throughout A Course in Miracles, was a choice. I'm not so sure whether Helen Schuckman made that choice or the voice that came through her, which was a silent voice, made the choice to simply use the male pronoun instead of going through all the machinations of the his, her, he, she, in this difficult language, creating it more difficult to understand. So they just chose the male element, which most people in the Western culture were used to already by 1965. When you meet anyone, remember, it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself. Whenever two sons of God meet, they are given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. You can leave this up for a while. In fact, I've had requests from people to say, leave the PowerPoints up a little longer. Some people want to just continue to read through it while I'm talking. So, this is a very direct, mind-changing path that requires mindfulness. In other words, we're not expecting divine intervention to come and heal conditions and circumstances as long as we're looking at conditions and circumstances as separate and apart from ourselves. That's why when we talk about praying from God, is change the one praying. If you're looking at some situation, condition, or illness, and you're holding that strongly in your awareness, and you're praying, God, please come, alleviate this, you're giving more energy to the problem. Whereas if you begin to allow whatever is taking place to be taking place, sounds like a strange way to go about healing a problem, just to allow it to be there, taking place just as it is. And you establish the okayness of that, which means what? If you don't hear anything else, if you don't listen to anything else, if you don't get anything else out of this talk, get this. So, some situation has arisen that you surely don't want in your experience. Instead of resisting it in the prayer of separation to a distant, separate God, which is okay. I mean, that's a lot of people do it, and that's okay. But a more effective thing to do would be to see if you could have peace with it just as it is, allowing it to be just what it is and just what it is not. Allowing that to happen will do what? It will remove you from eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you are removed from the idea that literally is conditioned into our thinking of good and evil, we will always be in a state of separation. Look at what happens if you do the extraordinary thing in practice. Just allowing it, not resisting it within. Eckhart Tolle gets really deep into this, but not resisting, not fearing, not attacking, allowing, letting go. This is the way it is. This is the way it is. I wish it wasn't, but this is the way it is. This is the way it is. And suddenly your awareness drifts away from separation. And you're moving into bliss, allowing. We're going to meditate together now. You can start by taking a couple of deep breaths. As you release the breath, release any particular fears or concerns or conditions that you're dealing with right now. Just release them. And allow your mind to consider this particular contemplation using the name of God. Just bring your mind gently into this contemplation. I am they. I am he. I am you. I am she. I am the one in all, the all in one. Be still and know that I am God. I am they. I am she. I am you. I am he. I am the mountains, the forests, the deserts, and the sea. Everything you think of me. Everything you do to me. Be still and know that I am God. I am they. I am he. I am you. I am she. I am the mountains, the stars, the desert, and the sea. Everything you think of me. Everything you do to me. Be still and know that I am in you and you are in me. Be still and know that I am God. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let us go forth with a greater determination to allow, to flow, to forgive, to release, to bless, to allow, to flow, to forgive, release, and bless. For this opportunity and every moment, we give thanks. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. Those of you that are watching this live stream, you can scroll down to the place that says donate, give you the different ways to donate, or you can read this up here. And I do hope you donate, because it is in giving that you will receive. And everyone here can bring into their hands or into their mind that gift they'd like to make to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless this gift with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Amen.
Hold out to earth the torch divine. We are the lights of the earth. Shine. Hold out to earth the torch divine. We are the lights of the earth. Shine. Hold out to earth the torch divine. We are the lights of the earth. Shine. Shine.
Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen. We will have our group discussion in Fellowship Hall. You can stop in there, pick up some refreshments, and circle up. And I'll be over there in 5 to 10 minutes. And we can discuss anything you want to discuss.
And we have refreshments in the bookstore. And the equinox is going to be this Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. And you're welcome to come to that and bring something to share food-wise. And we will be probably in Fellowship Hall performing the wonderful chants of that time, bringing in the summer, bringing in the spring. It's going to be incredible, and everybody always has an incredible time. And we never know how it's going to be. It's a spirit-filled moment. So come and be part of it.
All right. To everybody, have a beautiful day.